multiple memories of just talking, and then saying, sorry, I'm going on. I'm talking too much, or, sorry, I'm rambling on about whatever I'm talking about. And multiple people saying, no, it's okay. I like hearing you talk. And then I got that in my head. I was like, They actually heard it. They got, like, jump scared. Because my mom was sitting on the couch, and she was just, like, paying attention to her phone or something, like, not really watching the TV. And all of a sudden, she hears what sounds like me. And she goes, Karli?
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I am here today with a very special guest. Now we're talking with Karli Walker. She is a voice actor, as am I, if you're following my story as well. But I thought it would be good to get some experience from someone who has more experience in the field than I do. I'm still relatively new. I feel it every single time that I get to work with her. So we are, we're going to be talking with you, Karli. How are you doing today?
I'm good. You're inflating my ego too much for almost 10:30 p.m. I need to go to bed at some point. But I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very happy that you agreed to do this podcast with me. You are my first, so I'm very excited to have you on. I'm very excited to let people know about your talent and some of the things that you've gone through, and maybe even I'll be learning some more about you today. But yeah, thanks for coming on. I wanted to start by asking you what got you into voice acting? Like, is it something you wanted to do, ever since you were younger? Is it something that you kind of fell upon later in life? What was the initial inspiration that kind of led you to this path?
Short answer, post-college graduation career crisis. And I'll give you the longer answer now. So I mean, it's like you kind of hit on some of my realities there. I graduated college in 2014. I graduated with a degree in geography with a concentration in geographic information systems. And there's obviously a lot of things that you have to figure out after graduating college. You're still like not a kid, but like kind of a kid. Obviously you're typically in your early 20s. You're trying to figure things out. After I graduated, I kind of struggled with I think like my passions, and I liked that field, and I liked that degree. I liked doing that work. But growing up, I was definitely an artist. Growing up, I was more so a visual artist. I was, one of those kids that always had a sketchbook and pencil with me, just constantly drawing. And when I got into high school, that's when I started getting more into performance art. I had moved from Maryland to North Carolina, and it was never something that I would have done normally, but I think since I was at a new school and no one really knew me, I decided to try something new. So at my particular high school, we had the option of taking dance instead of PE, and I was like, screw it, like, I'll give it I kind of want to try it. It seemed kind of fun, and so I did, and we really only focused on modern dance, which was it's a little more, like, it can be structured, it can be less structured. It was definitely a more free-form way of, getting into that sort of thing. And so that was the first time, like, performing that involved, like, moving my body and like really expressing myself in a way that I wasn't normally comfortable with. And when I got into college, I actually ended up minoring in dance, even though I hadn't really done a whole lot with dance between, high school and college, but kind of ended up falling in with the dance crowd as well there. And through other circumstances, I was one of those kids that didn't know what they wanted to do getting into college.
Happens to a
And
lot.
yeah,
Happens to a
yeah,
lot.
no, it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard to figure out what you want to do. And I fell into the geography major, which was always an interest of mine in grade school growing up. I always really liked that part of, anytime the geography came into like science classes or even social studies, because sometimes you have lots of like maps, or in social studies you might study you might get into some human geography versus science classes you'll get more into physical geography, and so I always like that aspect. And I figured out that it's actually a legitimate career. I didn't think at first it was, and then I figured out it's actually a really great career to go into, and so yeah, majored in that. People would ask me, you're majoring in geography, minoring in dance. What is going on there? I was like, it's just honestly, the dance thing is for fun. I'm artistic at heart. It's really for fun. They don't complement each other at all. um,
Not exactly hand in hand.
Not exactly. There was a point at which I almost considered switching to a major in dance in college, and I kind of decided not to do it because, in the end, it was not something I like dance. It's just it wasn't enough of a passion of mine to actually want to pursue it in that way. And yeah, so like I said, after I graduated, I, like a lot of people, had a post college graduation career crisis, and I actually ended up looking. I just started looking into various other careers, everything that was all things that were creative, like just drawing or painting, or like something regarding
Creative.
going back
Something
to like what I
creative.
did as a kid, visual art. I considered game design. Uh, I also looked into animation, having like no background in all of these things.
You're like, I could do that. I could figure it out.
You did maybe. How much more is school gonna cost me? You can do it. Maybe I can do it. But yeah, no, I no, yeah, I remember, no, I was looking into animation, and I was like, this could be cool. It's definitely a passion. But I realized at some point, I think, because I kind of at the same time ended up somehow like kind of stumbling into voiceover, and I started looking more into that. And at some point I realized I was not really so much interested in like animating characters. I was interested in voicing characters.
You wanted to be the character.
Yes, I want to be the character. It's me. It's about me. So,
I get it.
so
I get it.
I ended up finding this class that was being held in, like, when at the time that I was looking at it, and this was back in what, 2015, 16, somewhere around there. And I started looking online, and there was this class that was being held in just like a few weeks, or like a month or something, at this like VO company. It was Edge Studio. I don't know if you've heard of them, but Edge Studio had this class, this like basically just an intro to voiceover class. They held it at a local studio, so you could get the experience of like being in a studio. You get the experience of being behind the mic. They went over kind of just like the basics of voiceover. Helped you pinpoint some areas of voiceover that you would want to go into. They gave you some sample scripts to read to see if that felt good. Because some people were more like commercial or narration or, character, animation, whatever. So everyone got like different scripts. And yeah, it was like 4 hours on a Saturday. And I remember like feeling like at first being like nervous to be behind the mic, but it was, more of like an excited nervous, then once you start talking, you just kind of start getting a little more into it. And I realized like, oh, that was actually like, that was really exhilarating. That was really fun. I just like kind of immediately knew that I need to continue looking into this because I think that this could be a thing. And yeah, that's
Uh,
how I got into it.
that's a great story. It makes a lot more sense than mine, I feel like, but I'll go into that some other time. So
Oh,
considering that you did have some formal training, um, I haven't, uh, and
mm.
what are some key elements that you feel um, you really got from that kind of formal training, that direct voiceover for beginners type of course? Because I haven't had that. Like you were my first official coach. So I haven't,
You took
I've
direction very
never,
well.
yeah, you did. You helped me do something that I'm pretty happy with. So a
Yeah,
couple of things,
turned out great.
actually. So
Yeah.
um, I, I've never I've never went that path, and so I feel like it's very important for most people to go that way. So I feel like it's important for people to know who do go the direction of formal training, why it's important to do it and what elements you can pull from that.
There is a lot that you can learn on your own, and there's a lot more than you can learn with a coach. And I get it for people who are getting into who are new to voiceover. Uh, Especially depending on your funds. I get it. It can be expensive.
Start young.
It's yeah, yeah. Hey,
if you
are
if
you
you're if
still like in
you're
high school?
in
Can your
high
parents?
school, if you're 13, 14, take that drama class.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I completely in the end, there is no one way to do it. There are some things that I would definitely recommend everyone do, but however you can get into it, just do it. Not to steal a slogan here, but just do it. It's
But
yeah, it is totally it's tough. So I'll try and be a little more specific here. So me myself, when I was first looking into it back in whatever I said, 2015, 2016. Yeah, I was definitely not like making as much money back then. I was just starting in my main career, and as we know, when you're fresh out of college, it's people don't typically want to pay you much, but depending on what you want to go into, if you're getting like an engineering degree, some of those people are getting upwards of six figures off the bat. But anyway, that's not the case for a lot of us. So I I it's been a really slow process for me. I don't think I like really started getting momentum until honestly probably not until at least like 2020. I think when I started like really starting to take it seriously, it was like maybe around 2018. I don't think I really started to get anywhere until 2020, actually maybe 2021 actually. And a large part of that was because I didn't have a lot of extra spending money. So I would look into pretty much anything that I could find. There was my main thing for years actually. Um, was and I think I recommended this group to you. There's a workout group. It's a guy, a guy named Larry Hudson and some other people. I forget who the other people were. He and some friends started that years ago. Um, it's called it's called it's called voiceover heaven. Shoot, that I'm not doing a good job. It's been a while since I've looked at it.
it's
VO
all
heaven,
good.
voiceover heaven. Or you can also look up like Wow Wednesdays. They do Wednesdays and Saturdays, or at least last time I looked at them. It's been a few years since I've looked at them. But basically, and there's lots of workout groups. Some free, some that are. This one wasn't free. However, it was very affordable. It was only 35 bucks a month, and you get a weekly workout that would typically last an hour and a half or so, hour to an hour and a half. and you would have a group of like 5 to 6 people. The reason it cost some money is because there was a lot of planning and stuff that went into it. So you kind of were paying for people's time to like organize and some other stuff, whatever it was. Obviously, I don't have the ins and outs, but that's still very affordable. And they you'd be in a group of like typically like 4 to 6 people, and everyone would have, you would bring 2 scripts with you, and everyone would have the chance to both practice their script and be directed. And you also got the experience of directing other people, which, and it doesn't matter, you could be brand new. You go into that and you get to do a little bit of directing. And a lot of people might say like, "Oh, what's the point of that?" You learn. I mean, and they're obviously very nice about it. You know, they're like, "Hey, if you really don't know, like you're super new, you don't know, just pass it off to the group." That would always happen. You know, you start out directing and then you didn't have anything else to say and say, "Hey, does anyone else have any suggestions here?" So if you were brand new, you could say, I'm not sure, you know, can the group chime in? And then you would just get the experience of, you know, hearing other people direct and kind of picking up on things. And for years, that was actually like really the only kind of coaching that I got. And eventually I was able to afford private coaching, which I will say is worth it. There are lots of people who, you know, have various, you know, they cost various amounts. Lots of people that are, you know, just find someone who works for you. If you can afford it, I highly recommend. You always
Awesome.
need someone who has more experience. There are, and it's important to have this one-on-one time, because, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do in like a group of people, but you need someone who can like, you know, really like kind of get in your head, who can help you understand, who can give you like the right terminology, the right however they find to explain it, to help you like understand what it is that you need to be doing, and to be able to hear it as well. Hear it
Yeah.
and then, you know, do it, obviously.
Yeah, that
So,
generalized versus personal
hmm
feedback. You know, there's a lot of generalized ones out there that you can find, and not that they don't have good information. People, I'm
yeah.
not saying that, but that personal one-on-one feedback on exactly what you're doing and what you can get back. Like that's the experience I got with Karli here. So she gave me direct feedback on what I was doing and what I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
She was very polite about it. She could have been much meaner, I'm sure, but she was very kind, and having that direct feedback there for me, I can say 100% helped. I've you know
Yeah.
I learned by watching YouTube videos and diving into what different creators or different voice actors had done, um, and like some of their bodies of work, and like imitating it or attempting to imitate it, and not necessarily the voice but the
hmm
styles, and
hmm
that's all well and good,
And that's
but
something that a really good coach can help bring out, because it's you know, it's fine to be able to do impressions. That's totally useful. But in the end, they're hiring you and what your voice can do, and
bringing
everyone is
out
a little bit
your
different. And so a
voice.
good coach can help bring the you to all of these different voices you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There are things in every genre of voiceover. We were doing commercial, right? And there are things about commercial that are really difficult to get down, because basically commercial can pretty much be boiled down to, you're trying to sell something without sounding like you're selling something. There's typically for most commercials, there is a balance between a conversation and selling a topic, or and selling something, a conversation and selling a product, right? And it's not something, it's something that's hard to get on your own. There are all these little details that like you just don't pick up on when you're listening to commercials on TV, on the radio, whatever. there are little things that you don't pick up on. And so you need someone to be able to get in the nitty-gritty so that you know your stuff. Like you know what a client is looking for, right? Like when I am recording, I was just recording multiple commercials for a client, and they are constantly asking, oh, can you do this little thing differently here? Can you do this different here? This is what we're looking for here. They're constantly pointing things out, and you need to be able to understand what they mean. It's like a translation, and it's hard to understand if you don't get proper coaching.
Yeah, you're getting a coach to teach you uh, that foreign language so you can understand it a little bit better, and
Yeah,
learn to pull
exactly.
that that thing that they need out of yourself. um, but let's shift gears a little bit. I was talking about seeing and not always mimicking, but taking at least style and man, I love Mark Hamill's Joker,
Hmm.
because that's my love is character work. But I mean, I like all of voiceover for many different reasons, but character was the first thing that pulled me in. And so
Yeah.
there have been various different ones I've admired over the years. What's a voice actor that you look to or admire?
I'm drumming up ideas here. Okay, so I'm just gonna go. We're just gonna name random ones in no particular order,
Okay.
like more or less, just
Top
ones that pop in my
10.
head. Um, so this is very specific. One of the things that one of my earliest memories is watching. Do you know that old anime Cardcaptor Sakura? Sakura. Sorry.
I think I've heard of it. I've not watched it.
It's an old yeah, it's a really old, it's like one of those classic magical girl animes, and it only got like a few episodes. I don't remember exactly how many, but um and then they stopped airing it. And I was really enjoying it, and then I was like, how do I find this? This is, yeah, again, this is a fourth grade, so like around 2002-ish. So we didn't have all the like streaming, and it wasn't, and like DVDs were really expensive, and so like we didn't
Yeah.
have the things today that we have, that we didn't have
Can't
things
just
back
find
then
it.
that we have today. Yeah, yeah. It was not easy to find at that time, especially when it was like a very niche thing. Hard, difficult. Um, Years later, I finally was able to watch the rest of it. But yeah, so I remember a lot of people that dub is not perfect.
Well regarded.
It's not perfect, but I really enjoyed it. One of the main reasons was because they actually got a an actual kid to voice the main character. Her name was actually Karli or something. Karli McKillop. She voiced she was the original dub for Sakura. Um and I I loved her performance because like when she would do these yells, like at least she would like yell or scream for whatever's going on with the character. If it's at one of those scenes, it felt so like natural, and it's not perfect. Like it's an anime, so of course like a lot of lines are not like read, that naturally.
But
But
it's a
but a lot of
kid
them were,
actually
honestly.
screaming.
A
You know.
lot of them actually were, but the screams. Well, a lot of the like other dubs, because I was watching other dubs at that time. Sometimes things would feel like over top in a way that was just like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It was kind of like that. It was almost. But anyway, the way that she would do it, it was just, it felt more natural. It was really interesting. So sorry not to stay on this for too
It's
long,
okay.
but yeah, no, I always remember her performance. None of that, it's not perfect, but like I liked it. It felt real. It felt like really kind of in the character, which is not something that you usually see, because obviously usually when it comes to dubbing or dubbing characters, or just animation in general, typically it's adults, which is fine. Obviously, we got lots of talented adults that can sound like kids. Whatever, it's great. But I really liked it for that reason. Um, I remember Vic Mignogna. Uh, Now he's been up to some stuff these days, but um, but I remember as a kid, I really liked him in Full Metal Alchemist. That was one of the big ones. He's done a bunch of other like he's I remember did a character in Naruto. A bunch of other things. Oh, Naruto, that's a good one. That was one of the I think probably one of the first times that I realized that women doing, voicing, like young
Male,
boy
young boy
characters.
characters. Yeah,
I'm blanking on her name. Ugh, but it
I
took me
know
a
who
long
you're
time. I
talking
did not
about.
realize for the longest time, yeah, that Naruto was voiced by like a middle-aged woman.
Right. Yeah.
She did
And
such a good
like
job.
Pokemon, like I never knew all throughout Pokemon, but eventually, like Naruto came around, and I was like, oh, I see. I've just been lied to my entire life.
That's not a boy.
I mean, I was like, I don't know. Naruto, that's 11 for me. I was 11, maybe younger.
Yeah.
And but Pokemon, never knew. Just assumed it was a. Don't know what I assumed. Never thought of it. It never crossed my mind. At that point in time, I would say I never even thought of the idea of the person behind it. The only one that did kind of pop up for me, I guess, would be in Aladdin, Robin Williams, because I understood the concept that Robin
Mm,
Williams was Genie, and voiced
right.
Genie. But I never put two and two together that whoever's behind the cam or behind the recorder, the mic, may look nothing like the character, may look not
Mm-hmm.
resemble, could be completely different. An old witch could be just a guy in the booth. It's just so many different things. But
Yeah, Pokemon actually was the next one I was gonna bring up. Yeah, Veronica Taylor. I
mhm.
remember at some point, don't remember exactly when, but at some point realizing like, oh, Veronica Taylor does both the voice of Ash and his mom. And it's like they sound very different. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's
interesting.
impressive too. Impressive.
That's very impressive. It's yeah, I mean there are so many more I can say, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we can move along. That was good. Good dive in. But okay, so something that I think, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna ask this from a lot of people from a lot of different perspectives, about a lot of
Mm,
different things. Is what's something that if you could go back to when you were younger,
mm,
that you would do differently, that may have helped you along this path a little bit? And so I guess thinking from the perspective of maybe a teenager, maybe because I imagine that's where I would want to go back to, is when I was
mm-hmm.
a young teenager or fixing a preteen. Um, what would you tell those people to avoid doing, or what would you tell them to definitely do, if they were
Hmm.
to consider this line of work?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna preface this by just saying
Or what would you have done,
that
I guess, is a better.
everyone, yes, everyone listening to this, keep in mind you can start at any time. You're never too old. It is what it is. Everyone has their different path. Whatever. I actually have thought about this. I think about back in like middle school, high school, and I was one of those kids that I got really good grades. I did well in school. Didn't find out to my 30s that I have ADHD, so that would have been interesting to know back then. But I still did well in school. um, but yeah, so I think about back then, and I remember being a teenager, and there would be all of these things that I would be interested in, and I would rarely stick with them long enough to actually get good at anything. And that can be hard when you're young, especially someone with ADHD, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be hard for a lot of young kids to have like the motivation to
That
like build up various skills.
hyperfixation for a couple weeks.
Yes, yes. You had all of these fixations. And yeah, so basically, I wish that I would have been a little more motivated to just do things, to express myself creatively. Um, I don't hate my life and my path in life, but of course, I think the way that my life has gone is just the way that it was meant to go. But there are I just wish I would have done more things in general when I was younger.
Or
Things
anything
just
that specifically with voice acting that you would have
with voice
done
acting. Yeah, sorry,
to
I'm yapping here.
prepare yourself for where you're at now?
Um, okay. So obviously at that time, I did not know. There actually was a time in high school. I remember because I loved anime, I loved cartoons, and that was actually voiceover because I was obviously very aware. In fact, these are people voicing these characters.
Right.
Um, that actually was something that I had thought about, but I at that time did not have like the performance drive
Mindset.
to pursue it. The fact like if I went back to my high school self and was like, "Hey, we're actually professional voice actor right now," I'd be like, "Really?" Like I thought about it, but I didn't think I'd ever have the guts to do that. Who are you? who who is this person? Yeah. So at the time, I actually had thought about it. The one thing that I actually can say that I think would have maybe helped with getting into doing voiceover in the future for future me is maybe definitely done more performance stuff in general. Like I said, I that's kind of when I got into dance, but I wasn't like that. I really didn't end up doing it that much. It definitely gave me a performance drive,
Little
just to get
bug.
that experience. But I wish I would have done more. Just do more performances. Get into like choreography. Uh, just whatever, just done more of that. Get
Maybe
get
more
more of that performance drive.
theater, or
Yeah.
any like communicative art as well could be
Yes.
good. Debate, I
Yeah.
imagine, is probably even good. Help you think on your feet. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Just having
certainly,
the guts to get up in front of someone or a crowd and perform for them. And
yeah,
any kind of performance can be helpful. They're different skills, but any kind of performance skill can be helpful in learning another performance skill.
absolutely, absolutely. So knowing that, um, what would you say is, if someone was on here and to
Mm-hmm.
ask you, they're like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking to get into voiceover right now. I know
Hmm.
pretty much nothing. I have a decent voice. I've been told all my life I have a decent voice. I like playing
Mm-hmm.
around with my voice. What should I do? What where would you
Oh,
tell
okay.
them to start? I'm not going to, you don't have to give them the full synopsis, but where would you tell them to
Yes.
start?
Where would you start? Wait, quick side note. Sorry, you just jogged a memory
Okay, all good.
of another reason why I ended up looking into voiceover after I graduated college is because what I have had a number of instances in my life where, as I've told you, I'm a yapper. I talk. I can talk, 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 talk. And there have been multiple times throughout my entire life, or even at that point, up until at that point when I was first looking into it, I have multiple memories of just talking, 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 and then saying, "Sorry, I'm going on. I'm talking too much," or "Sorry, I'm rambling on about whatever I'm talking." About. And a person saying almost word for word, multiple people saying, "No, it's okay. I like hearing you talk." And I got that in my head. I was like, "Huh, hmm." Anyway, so back to your question.
Yeah. So,
Um,
where would
if
where would
someone
you
was,
tell them to start?
where would I tell them to start? Honestly, community,
Okay.
local community. Look around and see who's around you. Chances are there is a like a Facebook group, some group you can find that meets up. Um, because so I started having one-on-one time is just always beneficial with people. getting your name out, that you're putting a face to a name. Obviously, I think a lot of people would start with like, oh, looking up classes and um, uh, trying to find a coach or Googling free videos on YouTube, which is all fine. You can start there, totally.
One
But
I will say is, don't go out and get the most expensive mic on the market unless you're rich
no,
and it's not a concern. But even then, don't worry about the equipment. The best piece of equipment you have is right here. So
hmm
you need to
oh
learn how
yeah,
to use that tool first.
yeah. Your work on your voice. I think I did end up jumping the gun a little bit, but there are certain things in life that I have been like so sure about that I'm like, no, I want to do this. I did that with
Eventually. I may not need it
I
now, but eventually.
yeah, yeah. I don't do that. But sometimes people like me do dumb things. I did that with snowboarding. I knew I was gonna like snowboarding. I found like a cheap used one. Cheap. It wasn't like it's still pretty penny to buy it, but like still it was in
Right.
good condition, so it was cheap or much cheaper than you would normally. Anyway, so I ended up getting a snowboard before I ever took snowboarding lessons at all, and then I knew I would like it. So anyway, yeah. So back to what I was saying. I have found, and obviously you can do these things at the same time, but at first, I would actually recommend looking to see who's local, because for years and years and years, all of my stuff was virtual, and that's fine. Coaching can be virtual. You can learn just. Some people are like, oh, shouldn't I find a local coach, someone to work like in person with? You can, but it's the same either way. You don't need someone to be directly in front of you. But I for many years just never looked. For some reason, just never thought to look around and see like, who's around me. What communities? Surely there have to be community. I live near DC, like DC, Baltimore. Like there's got to be some communities around here. And I ended up finding Nova. That's North Virginia. There's a Nova voiceover book group, and they would host various meetups. And when I started going to them, just having all of these people who, were suddenly my friends, could give me advice. I've had some of them throw like jobs my way because, some client they have is looking for someone and they're like, oh, here you go. Like who you know is just as important as what you can do. That goes for any industry. Whatever industry you're in. That's literally everywhere. Just as important who you know as what you can do. So I would actually recommend look around, find local people, and start asking questions, get advice, and start building your skills. Build your community and your skills.
I think that is fantastic advice. I am like you in that virtual. Everything was virtual. I eventually, for like my first work, I did a Facebook community that
Mm-hmm.
you could audition for small unpaid parts, and like I
Mm-hmm.
remember whenever I first auditioned for something, and it was my first ever audition for anything, and I got it, and I was just like, ah!
Yeah.
But then you get to talk to all these other people who have been, for me, I got on. It was my first. I had bought a mic, uh, a cheap, the Scarlett Focus, right? I bought
Mm-hmm.
that bundle, um, just like a month prior to that audition. And so
Perfect timing.
and then I get in there and they're like, yeah, I've been doing this for about 4 years, and yeah, I've been, and also like I never went to college, and like so many people were like college grads, and I was just like over here like, yep. I don't deserve to be on a call with any of you. Uh, but they, I fit that specific type of character that they were looking, and
Mm-hmm.
like many of these things, it fell apart. A lot of them do. You're gonna have it happen, peeps. I don't know what to tell you, but it's good
Yeah,
practice.
I've had some stuff fall through.
You get to meet people. You get to meet people who are in this industry, and on the same ground level as you. You can get tips. You can get tricks. You'll meet some fantastic people who are extremely talented doing that too, and some of them are on the same level as you and can give you some pointers as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if there really isn't anyone local, obviously, community is community wherever you can find it. It's great if you can find local people, but if you can't, definitely look around and be a part of groups. And if they're not doing virtual meetups, organize something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Like I said, I think that's fantastic advice. Um, what's your dream gig?
my dream gig.
Once in a
Um,
lifetime. Or
once in a
maybe
lifetime.
not once in a lifetime, maybe you'll get more, but if you only got to do it
Hmm.
once, you would be happy with it.
I think. I think I I definitely am going to get more into character work. As you know, I do mostly like commercial, and I've done some character stuff, but so I'll be getting more coaching and stuff to get more into that. So in the future, I think I could keep it vague. I think I would just like to do. I think I'd like to have just voice a main character in something, and I just want it to be just something that I can be really proud of.
Is that like an
And that
anime or
I
a
don't know.
video game or
Oh yeah, I do. Honestly, it could be a show, a movie, a video game. Honestly, just something. I do think that would be really fun. I don't think I have any specifics. Honestly, I think that I one thing that could be cool is maybe voicing in a Studio Ghibli film, either,
that would be cool.
a main character or the main character. Um, that would be really funny, and I've loved those. I remember the first time I watched a Studio Ghibli film, I think I was in middle school. I want to say like sixth grade. I don't know. Um, but I don't remember how, but we found. My parents ended up buying me. I ended up picking out Spirited Away. I don't know if it was like on sale or something. It just looked cool. But I loved like the artwork, and I, of course, I'd watched some quite a bit of anime at that point, but it looked really interesting. Um, I don't remember what drew me to it or how we came across it, but yeah, I remember I watched it. It was the first time I'd watched any kind of movie like that, and I watched it overnight 3 times. 3 times.
Wow.
I couldn't. I loved it so much I had to watch it again and then watch it again.
I'm going to speak fighting words. I'm not looking for a fight here. And because I already know you're probably going to disagree because most of the world does. Spirited Away, I think, is my least favorite uh,
Oh
Ghibli.
yeah, I mean that's fine. Like it's
So
every movie
I think it's
speaks.
overrated. I personally, it's not bad, but it's not
Yeah, I
great.
think it is a fantastic film. It is a fantastic film. But that is the pitfall that a lot of movies or just IPs in general get into, right? Where people get a little too obsessed.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Spirited Away is probably a little overrated, more or less, depending on like if it's just your vibe.
I just
You know?
recently saw the moving Castle, and I was blown away.
Mm.
That one, I really, really liked that one. Spirited Away by
How's Moving Castle?
yeah, I was blown away,
Yes.
and
Oh yeah, yeah.
by every
That's one of my
aspect of that film. And Spirited Away,
yeah.
when I compare the two, I'm like, come on, man, you need to step up.
Even I think I would say that. I think I actually like How's Moving Castle more than Spirited Away. I love Spirited Away,
Yeah,
but if I had to pick between those two, I think it would be How.
yeah.
Yeah, that film just does something to me.
So, so the second one was, and I think I share that aspiration. For me, it would be main villain and main protagonist. I want
Mm,
both. I want both roles. God, I want to be a
yeah,
villain so bad.
that's good. That would yes. Oh my God, playing a villain would be
So much
so fun.
fun.
I'd love to
Oh,
play a villain that's kind of Scar-esque.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's that like. funny,
Ooh,
cheeky.
cheeky. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got that feel.
That
Yeah, I would love it to
suaveness.
play a villain like that. If I could even pull it off, I think I could.
I think you could. You're amazing at what you do. Let's kind of move on to um the other one that I had after that was so far of what you've done. What's
Mhm.
probably the favorite? What is like your the one that you're like, man, I'm really proud of this. I did this and I'm really proud of it.
I think I'm probably most proud of just the very first commercial I ever did. I had my makeshift booth that I built from scratch. It was one of those, uh, PVC
Square.
pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, rectangle. I even ended up building my own acoustic panels that I hung in there later.
Wow.
I think at this time I didn't even have those panels, um, which did significantly make the sound better.
Now look at you in your
But
whisper room that I wish I
yeah,
had.
yeah. Oh, studio bricks. Oof. Oh yeah, I got a nice little studio bricks here. Um, yeah, I like this.
It's nice.
But
It's nice.
it was just like it's just one of those things. It was actually a regional commercial. So my parents live just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And so it aired, I think, in like all of South Carolina and parts of, I want to say, Georgia, North Carolina, and maybe some other places. But, regional, it's like two to three states, I think. So, it's like what it was basically like the first like professional thing that I booked, and I was pretty proud that it was a regionally airing commercial. And my parents, like I said, live just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and they actually heard it. They got like jump scared because my mom was sitting on the couch and she was just like paying attention to her phone or something, like not really watching the TV, and all of a sudden she hears what sounds like me, and she goes, "Karli." She's what is going on? And my mom, she just looks up and she realizes like, oh, this is a commercial. She screams at my dad to come downstairs and is like, Mark, my dad's name is Mark. Mark, come downstairs. Karli's on the TV, and he's like, what? He's like, he's like, like getting down the stairs as fast as he could. He was like, what is going on? And so it was just like, it's not even like that big of a commercial or anything, but you're so proud of it. It's like,
That
I've been
feeling.
trying to work up. Yeah, even this little job was something that I was really proud of. I was like, this is the first thing, like first professional thing that I've booked, and it's a nice portfolio piece. I'm like, I can totally throw this in a portfolio. It's actually on my website if anyone wants to go watch it. Um, Character. Um, I so I haven't done a whole lot of professional character stuff. I've done some, but honestly, the thing that I'm most proud of is something that was not professional. Um, it was a mod. It's
I think would be
so there's
successful.
this team that had been working on this Doom 3 mod. If you want to look it up, it's Doom 3 Phobos. They finally put out what's supposed to be the final chapter. There's three chapters. They've been working on it since like the like the early 2000s. I think it was something like 2006. And I was seeing this audition for these characters in this Doom 3 mod in when was it? 20 Hang on. I don't know. I want to say like 2018 maybe? Somewhere around there. Anyway, somewhere around there. And I actually saw it like a day late or a week late. So it was like a day or a week late after it had closed. But I was like, oh, it looks really interesting. And I want to give it a shot anyway. And I ended up sitting in an audition and being like, hey, so sorry, I just saw it. It's totally cool. I just wanted to send in an audition anyway. And of course, I didn't hear back except for until like 2 months later. And they were saying, hey, we cast the part that you auditioned for. However, we're adding a new character to the game, and we think that you'd be a good fit. Do you want to audition? I was like, hell yes, obviously. And so they sent it to me, and they're like, "Great, yeah, we love it. Like, so if you want to voice this character, cool." It's like it's not paid. It's just a passion project. But I was proud of it, and I'm still proud of it. And I kind of was learning as well. Trying to get like performance down. My performance gets better from like episode 1 to episode 3, but it was something that I went out of my way, and I liked that it was such a collaborative effort. I made some friends. I have a couple of voiceover friends who the other like main characters that I'm still friends with, and it's just nice. A passion project is nice, and in the future, maybe I will. Yeah, that's one thing that no, that's a definitive thing that I should put on my list. I want to voice a character in a Doom game, in an actual Doom game.
Hell yeah, that is
Yeah,
a good goal to have. I don't know
yeah,
when the next Doom is coming. Doom Eternal came out, and I don't know.
yeah. Who knows if they'll even put another one out? How about we say Doom or something Doom adjacent?
Okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely fair. What some things that you love about voice acting?
I've just always been a talker, dude. I get to bring characters to life, whether it is commercial, because there can be some lots of
Characters
character
in
in that,
commercials,
or
yeah,
animation.
yeah,
I like bringing characters to life.
awesome. Okay,
I like
uh,
interpreting how they want to have this character
it's like putting a puzzle
sound, all that
together
stuff.
sometimes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like that. What's something you hate about voice acting?
Something I hate about voice acting. I hate. Um, I think probably the editing, cleanup.
Oh
It's not
God,
even like
yes.
that.
It's not
It's not
even.
even that complicated. Or like I have a pretty good system, but it still can just like it can just take forever.
And it's boring. It's like this isn't what I want to do. I want to be behind the mic. For some
Yeah.
people, editing, I'm sure you have fun. I have a friend who likes to edit videos, especially. God,
Mm-hmm.
he'll have a blast, and I'm like, can I go home? I want to be here, and it's like my
I did my part.
I want to be in this booth doing this. I want to talk to the mic and talk to the people and talk. I want to say the words. I want to bring it to life.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do all the. So the fact that the moment I had to realize, yeah, in order to audition, I gotta clean it up.
Yeah, that's why it's nice when you I love it when I if I book a job, you just pass it on
Yeah, it's
to the
someone else's
engineer.
problem. Someone
That's your
else's
problem.
problem. Oh
Literally the
man.
job that I did recently, it was, we were doing multiple scripts, and so there were, and we actually did 2 demos. So I sent them like 3 30 to 40 minute recordings, because we were just like, we're not going to do the start and stop. We're just going to keep it going. Just keep it recording, record all your stuff, and then we'll grab all the stuff we need from it. It's like, cool. That's your problem now, not mine.
Gotta love it. Okay, that's two really awesome ones. Um, so another one, if you had to pick a couple of places for budding voiceover actors who have put in some of the time and the effort. I know that if they've been coached, they've probably already learned. But let's say they've gotten to a good place, kind of the way that I have. Maybe not through the normal means. Maybe they haven't had coaching yet. Get coaching. But where should they start looking for work? Do you think?
Start looking for work. Hmm. Okay.
Whether it's paid, whether it's
Mm.
maybe even unpaid, but where's some places that they can start getting work that will actually result in something that they can be like, okay, I can add this to the resume, I can add this to the portfolio.
Mm. Right. Right. Well. And this for actual work. Uh. So this, I will say, this tends to be more character stuff. And if that's what you want to go into, great. Here you go. There are lots of like studios or artists, um, like solo artists or whoever, excuse me, will post on like Twitter, in I think there are forums in various places online. Even TikTok, people put up like auditions on TikTok. And I don't know, there might be some stuff on Instagram. I don't know, but anyway. So honestly, like if you just start looking around and you just look for video game character audition, voiceover auditions, or like something, you will probably find something. You will definitely find some stuff. Now, granted, remember that you are competing with a lot of people. A lot of the stuff that you might see on, say, Twitter, um, there are a number of like professional, like less well known, but like people who are pretty professional who audition for those things. So if you're brand new,
And can do a
uh,
good job
you know,
too.
don't go in thinking, don't go in thinking like, oh, like really getting your heart set on getting this part. The number one thing is to keep in mind is just get the experience of auditioning. Just try, record some stuff, clean it up. You probably need to look into that, how to clean it up properly. But anyway, you'll kind of get a feel for just what kind of characters people are looking for. Um, just who is putting out auditions, right? Um, and you just want to like just getting that experience and that know-how is really important. And I would recommend having the mindset of set it and forget it. I booked a really good commercial job recently that when I sent the audition for, I was definitely hoping like, oh, fingers crossed, this would be a great commercial for me, and hoping that they would go with me. And I think I don't know, I auditioned for it like a couple months ago or something. And then I heard back recently. I was like, oh yes, but when I sent it, it's like, okay, really hope I get this, but like got to move on. So if it comes back around, great. If not, that's the most important thing. You kind of just got to get good at auditioning, and that will help you in the future with like your performance, with just your general workflow. So just practice. Just see what's out there and practice.
I heard the saying, and I can't remember where, but your job as a voice actor is auditioning. That's your
Yeah.
real job,
Yeah.
and because
Yeah.
that's where you're selling yourself. Once you're in the booth, recording for someone, you've already secured that job and you
Hmm.
secured that job because they like what they heard. But getting
Yeah.
them to like what they hear that initial time, that's where
Hmm.
you're putting in the real work. You are practicing, you are putting in the effort so that when you send that audition in, they're like, that's who we need. So I really I think that's great advice. Auditioning, uh, you can find auditions a lot of places. I definitely there are many places online you can find them very easily. Once you're ready to take that next step, something that I haven't done that I'm gonna start doing is looking
Hmm.
locally. That you can find, especially I live in. I won't call it podunk. It's the least podunk part of Arkansas, but I live in Arkansas, and there are some places that I could be looking locally, and I haven't been. But I think I'm finally approaching a space where I think I'm ready for it, and a little bit more practice, maybe some more coaching with Karli here, and maybe I'll be ready. But
Yes. Let me know.
uh, I definitely think that is a good point. So I do. I have maybe one or two more questions, and then I won't keep you any longer. I know it's getting late. Thank you so much for doing this with me. But
I'm just trying not to ramble too much.
oh no, it's all good. I love to hear you talk. Um, let's see. Let's start with this one. and unfortunately, this is probably going to be kind of long. AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite this subject. Where, what can, how to word it right? Because there's so much. Um, with heightened concerns in the voice acting field about AI coming in and taking our jobs,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is the best course of action for people who are looking to become over actors? Like, is it just
Mm-hmm.
you should be aware that AI is a thing, a real present danger? I would definitely say to everyone who's watching this, if people are offering you to uh, make AI of your voice for X amount of dollars, don't do it. The worst thing
Mm-hmm.
you could do. But what takes? No, I won't call them hot takes because I think a lot of people would echo the sentiment. But what takes do you have on AI?
Mm. Yeah, it's been really interesting watching the landscape grow. Um, I I actually am still optimistic about the future. Obviously, with a healthy dose of just trying to
Reality.
keep it
You're
grounded.
like,
The
I'm gonna be
reality of like,
optimistic, but what could they
uh,
do? You know.
could things go to utter shit? Yes, that's always a possibility. But so far from what I've seen, I think that there is hope. Um, so for a few reasons. One, I am a part of NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors union. Um, and they have been doing Tim Friedlander and I think it's Karen Gilfrey and I forget who else, but they have been doing um, a lot of lobbying. Um, like specifically talking to government uh who is it that they talk to? Congress or Senate? I forget. I'm bad at that stuff. Whoever you go to talk to that kind of stuff. So they have been doing a lot of lobbying to, and actually I just saw a video today of the Australian counterpart, Ava. What they're, I always used to say Nava, so I was like Nava, Ava, but then I kept hearing people say Nava, and so I'm like, I guess it's anyway. So Ava, Australian, Australian
Voice.
Association of Voice Actors. There we go. I just saw today, Teresa Lim. She's a fairly well-known voice actor in Australia. Uh, they were also doing lobbying. Her and a group of people were doing lobbying to talk about the effects of AI and how and it's not obviously that it's not even just a voice actor thing. It's people can like the technology to steal people's likeness, their voice to make people do and say things that they're not consenting to. Like it's not even just an artist thing, like even people famous, just people in general, but especially people who are like say in government, famous business people, with deep fakes and whatever else. Like people understand that they like the ability for their people don't want their likeness and their voice being used without their consent, regardless of whether you are an actor or in the arts or in whatever field.
And
So
what I would say about that though is there's two sides to that. There's
hmm
the part you're talking about, which is like theft, right? But I
hmm
mean the
yeah.
inclusion of people who are new skin to the game, who are talented, getting
Mm-hmm.
caught in a trap that is
Ah,
these people being like, hey, come teach our robot how to speak like you because you are talented, and we'll pay you pennies on the dollar for what you could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars for the rest of your life.
yeah.
um and will be making that money instead, because maybe
Right.
one day it does get good enough to a point where they could do that. And like the lobbying
Mm.
that they're doing, obviously they are hoping to protect us from that as well, I'm sure. But if someone comes in ready and willing to do that voice and help create that robot and that AI to do that job for them, that I think that's where my biggest concern lies, isn't so much from the theft, because I think that's a lot easier to, maybe it's not the easiest to crack down, but if a big business
Mm.
does it in a big, I don't see, Ford stealing the likeness of someone to do their commercial, because then they
Mm.
know they're
Yeah.
going to get sued. But
Yeah.
I do see them going to a company that has made 50,000 different bots from different people's voices that sound really
Mm.
good, because the technology is getting better and better by the day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to Oh no, we have full rights to this, so it's very easy for us to do it now that we have it. So we'll charge you way less than a regular voice actor would charge you, and then they start scooping up all the work. That's my concern.
That's your concern. So you're saying, yeah, regarding people who are new. So I would say, when in doubt, uh, ask, in Facebook groups or directly who you know, or wherever you to ask for advice. If you get, say, an audition that sounds a little funny, you're not sure if
A
it's
lot of scams out
legit,
there.
or if, yeah, or if it seems a little sketchy and you're unsure about the pay or whatever. I see it all the time. People post in, say, Facebook groups, and it's like, hey, what do you think of this audition? Like, no, don't run.
Yeah.
Do not do it.
Don't touch it.
And more on a more personal level, someone who's new listening, 121, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, 1-on-1. There is there is something to be said about, I think, being new and maybe just being eager to get a job. I have never taken a job that I was not okay with, like, regarding, like if I felt like the pay wasn't good. I used to be on a pay to play, and I stopped using it because I realized just how absolutely abysmal their pay was. Like, they were really underpaying. Um, and yeah, it was just not, I realized it was not worth it. It was not worth my time. Um, anything, don't take a job just because want you want the money. I know easier said than done, but you got to think of the long game. If this is something that one, say, like this an example, if it's to train an AI voice, uh, we we're still working on legislation. We are still getting there, and especially if you ask around and they're like, oh, well, this pay is miserable for what you're doing, um, then it's not really worth it. And that can go any job in general, where if you get the reputation, not, I hate to say it this way, but being quote unquote cheap, it can make it harder. Not that you can't, because the clients that will compensate well will do that. You can make more clients in the future, uh, but if you're working with some clients and then you start, when you want to start charging more, it can be difficult to, like, get out of that. It's not the end of the world, obviously. Do what you got to do in the end, but just try and think of the long game, especially when it comes to AI. You, I mean, what was it? The original TikTok voice. She did not like that her voice was being, it's Bev Standing. was the original TikTok voice. And that was not what Bev had originally signed that job. Like that was not the original use of that job. It was supposed to be, I think, for some university in China or something. It was supposed to be used for some kind of educational stuff. And then she eventually realizes like, oh, this voice has been like pawned off to use for TikTok's AI voice, and like that's not what I agreed to,
That's
and
not what I
that's
was
not what
paid
was paid
for.
for. How did they even get these recordings? Had they even get this voice? And so she sued them, and that's why you have all of these different AI voices on TikTok, because they, breached a contract. They did, and she didn't like that they were anyone could say anything using her voice, and that could potentially ruin. It could potentially tarnish her reputation if like she says it sounds like she's saying something that's not her, which
Right.
a lot of people, clients would look at that and say, well, I mean, clearly, I mean, obviously this is an AI voice and this isn't you actually saying it, but you never know. It could travel around in some way where someone just a client or someone hears it, and they associate your voice, or even just, sorry, I'll kind of wrap it up, but or even simply that if your voice is being used on this platform that a lot of people use, and that just the sound of your voice gets associated with saying anything or saying inappropriate stuff. A client might hear your audition and be like, oh, that reminds me of that voice and I don't
This,
like it.
like us.
So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hire you.
Yeah.
So that's exactly it. And actually the video, one more thing, the video that I just saw today that I said about Teresa Lim and um, doing lobbying and talking, they actually brought up a very similar story of some other voice actor. I don't know who reported an AI. The contract said it was supposed to be used for this, and then she finds out it's being used for a bunch of other things, and her voice is being used to say things that she doesn't like, that she didn't agree to. So just keep these things in mind, and it's never worth the money if it's going to ruin your potential in the future.
Yeah. I if the future is going to have AI in it, what I would highly recommend, or at least what I've thought of, is
Mm.
for people who are young enough, maybe start learning how to make AIs yourself. And then
Mm.
if you're a voice actor too, this could work out really well. Or if a company wants to play the long game over the people who are trying to buy up voices, offer a service where you can create a bot for yourself that
Possibly.
you could then use for whatever work you wanted to use it for, um
Possibly, yeah.
as a way to
I'm a little on the
combat.
fence about that, but I feel like
Yeah.
there's a potential there.
It's not
Maybe,
that it's not
maybe.
that I want that to be the case. I think
Mm.
I personally would rather it stay the way it is. You want a voiceover done, you hire a
Mm.
voice actor to do it. um but I could see, especially for, man, a lot of the kind of work that's out there, and if these um courts and these um Congress and everyone doesn't go the way that we need them to protect our rights as voice actors, that may be something that, growing up, keep an eye on this. That may be something that you would want to invest in the future, not because you want to, but maybe it's because it's what you have to do to stay relevant, because AI did take over. So have your own version
Hmm.
of that, and just teach that
Yeah.
bot that you own the best you can. you know
I
um
there's not to harp on it, not to be on this subject too much because I know you want to move on to the last question. Um, but so one of the other reasons I just want to say real quick, one of the other reasons why I'm remaining is because I've heard a number of stories from professional voice actors who had a client that had been a long time client for like years, come to them and basically say, we sorry, but we're not going to use your voice anymore. We decided to go the AI route, and the voice actor was like, okay, all right, it's unfortunate, but I can't stop you. Um, in nicer words, I suppose. But and then these clients end up coming back later and saying, "Hey, we actually would like to use hire your services again." Because while these voices are like they're definitely impressive and they're good, they and they can get variety. There's always such little details that at least right now, granted this could change, but they just couldn't get it exactly the way they wanted it.
Right.
There's always these little details that they want, they need to really, get the
The
feel of the
acting
commercial.
part
Yeah,
of
what it is.
voice
There's
acting.
there's so many little details that only a human voice at this point
Yeah,
can
where we're at
provide.
currently.
Where we're at currently, and that's why I'm being real about the future, because for all I know, we might very well have the capability in the future to be able to
Perfectly
replicate all of that.
replicate the human voice. But at least as
Yeah.
of right now, I get exactly what you mean. Like the ability to go in and do a specific kind of voice is one thing, but then, oh, we want an accent here. We want you to put the uh I don't know why I can't think of the word, but put the emphasis on this part of the word
Hmm.
instead of this
Yeah.
one. Well, you can't tell the AI to do that. Or you can attempt to, but it may not work. Maybe that AI only understands it in this particular context and can't
Hmm.
change it to fit that. So I definitely get
Yeah.
what you're saying there, and
Clients can be very nitpicky.
mhm,
And I actually enjoy being able to give them what they want. I could be quite a marathon runner behind the mic.
mhm.
And they often apologize for how many takes they ask me to do, because they're just like, oh no, we want to change this around. Oh wait, actually, can you do this here? Can you actually do this instead? Blah blah blah. They're often figuring it out as you're recording it
Yeah,
for
because
them.
they're
So they'll
hearing your voice and they
yeah
need that that's the thing that they will never be able to perfectly imitate, I think. They may be able to get close,
yeah, at least now.
is that immediate back and forth
Yeah.
between creator and creator. They want to create
Yeah.
something, but you can create something new that the AI can only replicate what's already been done. So,
Yes, yes. That immediate feedback is so important. Basically, like these clients are just spending probably hours upon hours trying to get this voice to do exactly what they want it to do, and it's just not quite getting there. And they would spend less time. Now they're spending this money that they saved, not hiring the voice actor. Now they're having to spend it to try and get this voice to do exactly what they want it to do, and it's actually at least cost just as much or similar or maybe even cheaper, I don't know, to just book the voice actor for an hour and a half, 2 hours, what, and maybe even only half an hour to and get that immediate feedback and give them exactly what they need. So that's why I'm still a bit hopeful.
okay, yeah, that's great. I am in complete agreement. Well, now that we're hitting about an hour and 30 minutes, uh,
Damn,
might have
we've been
needed.
recording that long.
Yeah, we have.
Man, I
I'm
was trying not to
absolutely.
yap too much.
Oh, it's good. Some of these questions required long explanations. I let you go some of it because I was just enjoying some of the story. But it's all
Can edit
good.
it down.
I enjoyed this conversation. Last thing I'm gonna ask you, it and I would actually like to see you do it.
That,
Maybe should have started with this realistically. For
hmm.
this marathon. Do you have a warm up routine? What is your
A
warm
warm
up?
up routine. Mine, I don't have like a specific routine, but I'll usually so one, I like to get some just hot water with like lemon in it, or at least hot water. But having like a little bit of lemon or something good. Um, I like to do some like trills, do or is that the word I'm looking for? I forget. But like kind of, you know. I like to. There are a lot of actually much of my warm up is that I actually use from my singing warm up, which so I was taking some singing lessons for on those, and but I learned some really good warm ups that way, and it really helped to just like learn to really loosen up and open up my mouth. So I usually start with uh. Kind of stretching my soft palate, which is like and you can't really see me because I need to get better lighting in here. But
It's all good.
yeah, it's like you look up a diagram, but illustration. But your so off your soft palate, so you kind of like just open your mouth and yeah, it's like ah, open up, um, and yeah, I'll kind of try and loosen my face muscle and do a stretching, do some do some trills, and then like some kind of scale or not scale or something, and just really try and like get things flowing right. And I don't have like I'll kind of just do what feels right. I actually I need to do a better job of looking back on my notes from my vocal exercises to remember specifically what to do. But if anyone listening is interested in this, because I find it very helpful. So my singing coach actually had me download an app called App Accompanist. And so they have these vocal exercises. And there's like what usually like I think like three of them that I would use. This one actually is really good if you download this app. The exercise 12, it's vowel unification. This is really good for this is great for singing, obviously, because much of singing you need to create a large resonant space in your mouth, but that can affect how you are able to pronounce things while you're singing. You go but you want to keep your mouth open. So from at the beginning, I told you to uh, stretch and open up your soft palate. Um, Again, that's like keeping it open, uh, feeling up here, your soft palate, you're lifting it up. Ah, um,
Ah, ah,
ah,
ah,
ah.
ah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely does.
Yeah,
Uh,
I highly recommend singing warm ups for doing voiceover.
uh,
Yeah, honestly, taking singing lessons, side note, singing lessons helped a lot with my voiceover performance. It really helps, obviously, with vocal control, which is something that you need with voiceover, whether you're doing character, whether you're doing commercial, narration, certainly. It's helpful for all of it. Yeah.
I was in choir for a long time. I'm terrible at singing. I just am. Uh, I have a voice that sounds like it might be decent. It is not. But
Oh,
we'll.
guarantee. Highly recommend. You know what? I'm gonna do a plug real quick. My teacher was Army Abiera. It's Abiera. Abiera. Yeah. She's really great.
Awesome.
She really she made me so much more confident in my singing abilities.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I absolutely. There's so many roles that require singing, especially if you want to make it to like Disney or something. Yeah, be ready to sing.
hmm
So,
I've been trying to put it on my agenda to practice more. I've not been practicing hardly at all.
yeah, my vocal warm up. I've not looked into what I should be doing realistically. I just have something that I like to do because it I have it memorized and it's it's different ends of my spectrum and
Mm.
I'll over enunciate on parts and I'll over move my mouth just to feel
Mm.
like I guess the the descriptor I would use, or maybe not descriptor, but the example I would use is Benedict Cumberbatch from when he played Smog. When he
Mm.
have you've seen that video where
Smelly.
he's got the stuff all over,
Yeah.
and he just, the way he moves his mouth and really gets into it.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I do
I remember that.
that, but with the intro to the cartoon, the original Lion King, with Scar, uh, with Zazu, and with Mufasa, um, because
Mm-hmm.
Zazu allows me to practice doing a different voice that's kind of in a different, with a different accent, higher pitched.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mufasa allows me to hit my lower tones and Scar, drop
Mm.
him, like, and I'll practice it with different speeds and different, and I'll just go through it a different times and different ways,
It's one
and
of
then,
my favorite childhood movies. I
oh
actually
my
listen to the
god,
soundtrack every so often.
oh, it's so good
I
too.
listened to it recently because I just love it. I love
That
it
that and
so much.
Tarzan are like top tier when it comes to music. um but yeah, and then also Scar is in that scene, so doing his little, oh, I
Favorite
shall
villain. Yeah.
practice my curtsy, oh, it's just, and then it gets me in the mood, it gets me happy. I growing up, that was my favorite, and to this day probably still my favorite Disney movie. um which I don't care that it's just Shakespeare, but rewritten. But it, hey, it's what I do, and it's I found it to work for me, because sometimes when I first go into the booth, um, I'll be having trouble hitting my deeper notes, and so I do that scene. I like to laugh and try to hit James Earl Jones' deep voice when he's laughing at Zazu's. He'd make a handsome throw, Rog. you know, and so that's mine.
No, yeah,
It's
that he
not
just has
quite as
such a
good
deep.
as yours. Not quite as good as yours, but it's what I do, and I find it often helping, especially when I get into the mouth movement, and I just do it two or three times over in two or three different
Mm.
ways, and it really warms up my voice, gets me into that zone of being able to change on the fly, because a lot of the times when I've done character work, I'm often getting into the booth to do two or three different characters, not just one. So it's that idea that I am all of these characters, and while I'll do them one at a time, um,
Mm.
it is still that idea. Okay, I'm coming in, and I'm finding that groove, I guess, and then
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
allows
I
me to
myself.
change my voice enough times in order to find that groove that I want to hit with that character.
Yeah. I myself am still finding like my voice with character work. And that's where a good coach is gonna come in.
Yeah, it's
I need
fun,
to
and
work with a coach.
I haven't done enough big stuff to really talk about it like I know anything, but I've enjoyed the stuff I've done. It's something that I can already go back to and be like, even if I didn't do fantastic, there are moments of greatness within it where I can see, and I'm like, I think I did good there. I like that. I can
Yeah.
look back at that and be like,
Yeah.
we had a good animation team
Yeah.
behind it and everything, and I'm happy with that. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
well, we did it. Hour and a half. It was longer than I thought. I was worried I would run out of questions, and I don't even think we got through all of them technically. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, feel free to, cut me down, just clip things out, whatever works for the flow.
no,
Go for it.
they're getting the raw you. I had to. They got to. No,
You have to
no,
suffer,
no, absolutely.
suffer through
I
Karli
loved that.
yapping.
I loved it. I loved everything you talked about. Um, I, I did try and step in here and there, but for the most part, you're just what you're talking about. Even if it's a little bit of an offshoot, it's important to
Mm.
understand where you came to certain vibes, especially like with your initial story. I think there might be some people who look back on it and be like, well, what does this have to do with voice acting? But it's you. You wanted to become a
Mm,
voice actor, and it's the steps that brought you to that space.
yeah.
And so I think that is important, especially from your perspective. You're here to talk about you. You don't share every voice actor's experience, so it's absolutely perfect that you went into depth on some of your experiences, not just as a voice actor but as a human being, because that's the other part of this is I'm aiming to talk to human beings who are going through life,
Hmm.
having their experiences, and I'm looking for them to share their experiences, and that was your experience.
Hmm.
So don't apologize. Yap away. you know, uh,
Yap away.
I came here. We're here talking because I wanted you to yap to me for a little bit, but I have
Yes.
kept you for long enough. I pulled you in real late,
I've kept
and
you for
you
long enough.
you have been you've been very kind, and I really appreciate it. If I can, if I get feedback where I think more people want more direct uh, questions than the ones that I've asked, um, then maybe we do a round two. Maybe we talk about your
Mm,
geographical escapades as well, because that is an interesting topic in itself. But as a voice actor,
yeah.
I wanted to have another voice actor on. But thank you so
Amazing. Yeah, it was
much.
really fun. It's really nice to just be able to like kind of talk through things and just explore where you've been and where you are now and how you got there and
The
what
recesses
the
of your
future might
mind.
look like. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there, anything you'd like to plug right here at the end?
Uh, hang on.
And obviously, you can also send me links if there's anything, so you don't need to necessarily spell anything out or anything like that. Is there anything you'd just like to, website you want to shout out for yourself? Anything like that at all?
Let's see. Anything I want to plug? I mean, I'm gonna be updating my website at some point, but those headshots are very old. I'm actually getting new ones done. But my website is karliwalker.com. It's KarliWalker.com. Um, you can follow me on Instagram is Karli Walker Official. TikTok is Karli Walker VO. I am on Twitter. I think it's Karli Walker VO as well. I think. You'd probably find me if you just look me up. But I don't really tend to post on there very much. But yeah, I suppose if anyone, I mean, my email is on my website, but I'll say it here as well. I don't know, if anyone has questions and wants to reach out, you can do it through socials. My email is also contact@karliwalker.com. So yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome, amazing. Just want to thank you one more time. Thank you for coming in. We've been talking with Karli Walker, and if you want anything else, you know where to contact her. That's it for today, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye bye.